Today's show, we're going to be discussing the bad news that the New Orleans Saints received yesterday, and it has to do with this guy on your screen. So I want to start off today's show by asking you the question, will Chris Olave play for the Saints for his entire NFL career? Just give me a simple yes or a simple no down in the comments section. I can't wait to see what you guys have to say. Welcome into Saints Now by Chat Sports. As always, I'm your host, Trizzy Trace Girouard. Got my guy, Loco Lopez, on the ones and twos. The news yesterday that took the National Football League by storm. Garrett Wilson inked a 4-year, $130 million extension, which included $90 million in guarantees. And my first initial reaction is I would too like a $90 million fully guaranteed contract. That would be pretty cool. Not fully guaranteed, but $90 million guaranteed contract. That would be pretty awesome. I think you guys are probably sitting at home agreeing with me. Now, it is worth noting, this is the first time in NFL history that a wide receiver has averaged over $31 million after only playing 3 seasons. He is now under contract through the next 6 seasons through 2030. So Garrett Wilson will be the leading wide receiver. He'll be the leading offensive weapon for the New York Jets, led by Justin Fields as the quarterback, Aaron Glenn as the head coach. But the big question is, wait, hold on. Well, this isn't Jets now. This is Saints now. So how is this bad news for the New Orleans Saints? Well, if you remember, Garrett Wilson, when he was getting drafted out of Ohio State, had a running mate. And he was a very good running mate. And his name was Chris Olave. And fun fact, Chris Olave was drafted in the first round just like Garrett Wilson. I know this is shocking news to hear, but this is bad news for the Saints because Chris Olave's price tag just skyrocketed. He will not come at a cheap price. He will cost the New Orleans Saints a pretty penny when it's time to give him an extension. Now, later we're going to discuss the possibility of the Saints trading Chris Olave. I know we've had this discussion. I know we've talked about it, but now we have new updates and new information around potentially paying this player. And there's been chatter online of people saying, look, I don't want to pay Chris Olave that much money. I want to just trade him away. Let's get some draft capital back. So we're going to discuss that idea in a little bit, but I want to hone in on the financials here because it's important to consider that Chris Olave is going to be playing in 2026 in the 5th-year option, or the Saints picked up his 5th-year option. He'll be making just under $15.5 million, just over $15 million, like $15.493, so just about $15 million. In his rookie contract, this is his last year under that rookie deal, only $6.1 million against the cap this year, but next year, the 5th-year option has been picked up, so he will be making a lot more money, and it's a good idea for the Saints to do that because it kind of buys them a little bit of extra time to decide whether or not they want to extend this player. Now, they are not apples to apples. The stories of these two players are pretty similar, but they are wildly different in terms of Garrett Wilson has had much more opportunity because he's played in 12 more games than Chris Olave. However, both have had spotty quarterback play. Chris Olave actually has a higher yards per game than Garrett Wilson. Olave with a 65.8 yards per game. Garrett Wilson only 63.7. Chris Olave had a higher catch rate at 63.5% and a higher success rate than Garrett Wilson at 55.5%. Wilson, for what it's worth, despite playing a dozen more games, only has 4 more touchdowns than Chris Olave, but you can see the average, they favor Chris Olave, so when given opportunities, Chris Olave has been able to capitalize more than Garrett Wilson. Now, there's a big financial dilemma here to discuss because wide receivers and quarterbacks, they are very, very expensive football players, and you might not want to pay Chris Olave $30 million a year, but that might be the asking price for a player of Chris Olave's caliber, and the contracts, for what it's worth, are only increasing. So where do the Saints go and spend their money? If Tyler Shuck, if Spencer Rattler, one of those two guys can pan out and can prove to be the guy, then I think it makes paying these players a little bit more justifiable, and it makes it an easier blow at least. But you do have to consider you have a young quarterback contract right now, whether it's Tyler Shuck, whether it's Spencer Rattler, so it's important to invest and build around them. So for with Chris Olave, what I would do is I would not go and make a move right this second. I would actually wait a little bit and see if Chris Olave can stay healthy and perform at a high level in the new offense led by Kellen Moore. This is, year 4 for Chris Olave. He's had Pete Carmichael offense, Clint Kubiak offense. He's now the Kellen Moore offense. He's had Andy Dalton, Jameis Winston. He's had everybody throwing him the pill. Derek Carr. I mean, we've seen so many changes for Chris Olave. So let's see if he can fit into this offensive plan. I think he will. And let's see, more importantly, if he can stay healthy. And I know that it's a little bit of a gamble, but what I don't want to happen is you invest in a player who continues to deal with injuries, and we're back in a similar situation that we were with Michael Thomas. Now, can Tyler Shuck or Spencer Rattler be elevated by Chris Olave? If one of those two guys can, whoever is the leading quarterback, then I think that you definitely go and invest in this player, because when it comes to developing a young quarterback, giving him a wide receiver and a safety blanket and a trusted outlet to toss the pill in any given situation, I think it is a smart plan, especially when you're trying to rebuild a lot of new things. Invest in the investments. Don't overpay. Try to maybe make it an incentive-heavy contract. But I do think if Chris Olave can elevate Shuck or Rattler, you should definitely pay him. Now, how many touchdowns in this season for Chris Olave? I want you to get down in the comment section. I'm hoping to see anywhere from 8 to 10. That would be absolutely awesome. But I want to hear from you. Look into that crystal ball and make your predictions. Now, coming up next, will the Saints have to trade Chris Olave? We teased it. We're going to discuss it. I'm going to tell you why I would or would not trade Chris Olave, so be sure to stick around. But really quickly, got to tell you guys about this awesome sale, chatsports.com/Saints Prime. The link is clickable in the comment section and description of this video. Made it easy to find. It's in the reply to the pinned comment. This shirt, I like to call these shoodies, short sleeve hoodies. It was $55. Now it's only $33. So if you're looking for some new gear for this season, get some on sale. Click the link down below, chatsports.com/Saints Prime. Get swagged out and make sure you're looking absolutely fresh for all your watch parties this season. Now, I'm going to kind of go out of line here on the script, Lopez. I want something blanket. I want to make a blanket statement. I want to make something clear. I don't want to trade Chris Olave, but we're going to have this conversation. The Saints could offload Chris Olave and draft another wide receiver if they wanted to push off and delay paying a big contract to a receiver. You have to consider you have players like Alontae Taylor, Rashid Shaheed, Trevor Penning as well that are going to be up for contracts after this season. So for Chris Olave, do you trade him away maybe at the deadline, maybe next offseason, and potentially just draft another wide receiver so that way you can push the money off a little bit, try to really get the books back in a good spot and continue this process of trying to rebuild everything? Again, I'm not for that idea, but it's something to consider because the concussions are really hard to ignore. The injury history, although I don't hold it over Chris Olave's head, I do have to consider it. And you have to take that fact that he has missed a lot of time due to some head injuries. It's not just, he tweaked his ankle or he tore a muscle or he broke a bone. No, these are head injuries, guys. These are serious. These can have severe consequences if not taken seriously. And for Chris Olave, it's hard to ignore that there has been a concussion history. But I also think that that's not a reason to just delay paying him. Be smart about it. Be conscious of that. But that shouldn't completely hold you back from paying this player. And there's online chatter. There's people in the comment section. There's people in my Twitter replies and in my Instagram comments being like, well, Chris Olave hasn't proven himself yet. Why would we pay that guy? He hasn't been healthy. He hasn't been available. He hasn't been good. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. I'm going to just silence some of that chatter, or we're going to address that really quickly because Chris Olave, in my opinion, has proven himself. When he's given opportunities, he takes advantage of those opportunities. When he has plays schemed up, he succeeds. You saw from year 1 to year 2 a nice step in development. Year 3, you were really hoping that was going to be a big year for Chris Olave, but of course he dealt with a lot of injuries and missed substantial time because of concussions. And so with Chris Olave, the conversation should be more focused on, can he stay healthy? Can he be a quality weapon in the Kellen Moore offense? Can he fit? Can he not only be a featured part of it, but also be a complement to Rashid Shaheed, to Alvin Kamara, to Juwan Johnson? Because when Chris Olave is healthy, he has proven to be a great wide receiver. He has higher yards he has a higher average in yards per catch every season than Garrett Wilson. Don't believe me? Pull up the stats. When you consider the things that Chris Olave has had to go through, it hasn't been an easy road for him, and I'm not saying that we need to go and send him this absorbently high check, but you're going to have to invest in this player. So I think keeping Chris Olave is the smarter plan because he is a great wide receiver, and he has proven to be very, very talented when given opportunities. Kellen Moore, hopefully he can be the guy that can unlock Chris Olave, and we can really justify inking a nice contract and a massive deal for number 12. Now the verdict, my final thoughts here. Either way, you're going to gamble. If you pay him now, you're going to be gambling on potentially dealing with injuries in the future. Even if you pay him later, you're going to deal with that. But if you wait, you potentially risk having to skyrocket that contract even higher. So I'm going to take the safer gamble, and I'm going to play right now football. I'm not going to look too far ahead. I'm going to say, let's see how he plays this year, and then let's make a decision. Because if things go sideways, if things are horrible, then worst case scenario, you can potentially consider trading him. But if not, then you just let him leave on that after his fifth-year option and see what happens there. And in the best case scenario, you keep him around forever and ever and ever. Amen. And then he's a great wide receiver, and we have a ton of jerseys sold and a bunch of Super Bowls. That would be really cool. So I want to keep Chris Olave. I want to make that abundantly clear. I am not vouching to trade him away. I am not get rid of Chris Olave. I need it to be explicitly clear. I want to keep Chris Olave in New Orleans. Fun fact, he also wants to stay. He's silenced the trade rumors. He's discussed this before, and he has said, man, it is all rumors. In the offseason, everybody's trying to have something for clicks, so I love it here. I love the front office. I love my coaches. I'm excited to be here, and I want to be here forever. So considering that question we asked at the top of the show, will Chris Olave be a lifetime Saint? Who knows? We've talked about it. I've talked about it. I'm willing to pay Chris Olave. What about you? What would you offer for Chris Olave's contract? I want to hear from you. Put on your GM hat. Be as creative as possible. Get as specific as you want. And I can't wait to see what y'all have to say. Who Dat Nation, I really do appreciate you guys for rocking and rolling with us. If you hung out through to the rest of today's video and the whole thing, fun fact, I'm going to be interviewing Steve and Danny Stutzman here in just a couple of hours. We're going to have an exclusive interview go out on the channel either later tonight or tomorrow morning, so be sure to turn on your notifications. Go ahead and type "Thanks Stutz" in the comment section, and we will see you guys next time. Y'all stay golden.